What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So one of my favorite channels to watch is actually Midlife Cards. My buddy Greg does an excellent job. And recently, a thing came up because for Father's Day, my kids gave me a $50 eBay card. And probably like a lot of you guys, I already spent it. So literally less than 24 hours, it's spent. I spent it on a Stan Musial 1960s Topps card. I'm going to show it on the screen real quick. So for this card, it's in an SGC4. With shipping, it costs $51, which I think is criminally insane. Like Greg, it made me think, why is Stan Musial's cards so cheap? And how much cheaper are they than stars that are the equivalent to him in that time period? So what I did was, I did a study on him compared to 5 other players. I don't think you're going to want to miss this because the results were very, very surprising. Then after the video, guys, tell me, am I crazy? Are Stan Musial cards underrated or are they properly rated and they are the correct price? All right, let's check it out. Okay, guys, so let's start off with comparing the careers of these 6 players. So first off, I picked one of the most popular pitchers in that era, Sandy Koufax. I picked Roberto Clemente, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, and Mickey Mantle. So I felt like these were 6 players that were comparable to Stan Musial to compare cards. So as you see by the chart, Stan Musial was actually 3rd as far as WAR goes. Willie Mays and Hank Aaron were higher WAR than he was. Cy Youngs and MVPs, Stan Musial had 3, and he was tied for first with Koufax and Mantle. All-star selections, Musial had 24. Mays had 24, and Aaron had 25, so Musial was tied for second. And World Series wins, Musial had 3 World Series wins. So obviously Mantle had 7 and Koufax had 4, so he was in 3rd place. But all I want to say is the body of work here from a big overview is that Stan Musial had an outstanding career. A lot of people would say he might be a top 10 player of all time, and I wouldn't disagree with that. So that's what I wanted at the starting point of what his career was compared to these other players. So let's start off with the 1960s Topps cards, because this is where this all started. I got an SGC4 for $51. For this whole exercise, I am going to do PSA because PSA has more data to go off of. So what I'm going to show you right now is I'm going to show you the receipts. What I did was I tried to use auctions as much as possible. I looked, every card didn't have qualifiers, and I tried to go recent sales. So if something seemed off, I did look at the next sale down. So Musial cards that sold recently, a PSA 2 sold for 35, PSA 4 sold for 50, so similar to what I paid, and a PSA 6 sold for 133 for a 1960s Topps card. So that's an average of $72. So now let's compare this to the other players that I mentioned earlier. All right. So as you can see, going down through the list, and let's look at PSA 6s, since none of these are rookie cards. They're, multi-year cards for these players. Let's start looking at the players I talked about earlier and comparing them to the Musial cards. So these are all these players, 1960s Topps cards. So let's look at PSA 6s. So Koufax had a recent sale of $207 in a 6. Clemente recently had a $258 sale in a 6. Mays recently had a $399 sale in a 6. Hank Aaron, $461 in a PSA 6. And Mickey Mantle, $1,015 in a 6. So as you could see here, literally Stan Musial in a PSA 2, PSA 4, and PSA 6 is lower by a substantial amount compared to the other 5 players. So now if we go to the next screen, I actually did the averages. All right, so now let's start looking at this chart here, guys. So let's look at the bottom row first, grade difference. So what I did was I got an average of what all the cards sold for. On average, it was $106. And then I figured out basically how much cheaper Musial is than the other 5 players. So on average, the other players are 204% higher than Musial's cards. PSA 4 goes, the other players were 251% higher than Musial's card. And in PSA 6, the other players were 210% higher than Musial. As you see, the average was $412 for a PSA 6, and Musial's card sold for $133. So if you average all the averages, the other players were 219% higher than Musial for their cards. And then if you look on the other side, I have cost difference per player. As you could see, Sandy Koufax was 63% higher cost than Musial. Roberto Clemente was 113%. Mays was 209%. Hank Aaron was 213% higher. And Mantle was a whopping 712% higher than Musial's card price. So it's pretty shocking. I didn't think the results would be this crazy, but if you ask me, even just looking at Koufax, who peaked in the 60s, he's substantially higher than Musial's prices. We looked at the 1960s Topps card. The reason why we looked at that card is it was a snapshot in time. It's the card I just bought. So I was curious what the price difference was, and we could compare apples to apples. But now let's look at, well, Theo, how about the rookie cards? This isn't really fair. This was towards the end of Musial's career. A lot of these players, this is early on in their career. Maybe rookie cards, Musial will be more expensive. So let's look at rookie. All right, so I looked at recent sales of PSA cards for the Stan Musial 1948 Bowman card. Now, granted, this is a rookie card that's in black and white. So I understand we have to kind of take these results a little bit with a grain of salt, but it's still fun to look at. And also, his rookie card is the oldest out of the group. So I think that does make a difference. All right, so obviously, as you could see on my chart here, I'm going to show the receipts. Though a recent PSA 2 sold for $726, a PSA 4 sold for $1,220, and a PSA 6 sold for $3,058. Average of those four is $1,668. So let's take that and let's look at the other 5 players' rookie cards and let's see how close it is. All right, so on my chart here, I have the other 5 players. I have the year of their rookie cards. Obviously, Mays and Mantle are going to be the Bowman cards. Aaron, Clemente, and Koufax are going to be their Topps cards. And then as you look through the chart, the only player that is below Musial for rookie card pricing is Koufax. And a lot of them are very, very close. Let's look quickly. I have the receipts here for PSA 6s. So Koufax recent PSA 6 sold for $2,915. Clemente $5,303. Willie Mays $22,761. Hank Aaron $7,405. And Mickey Mantle $34,500. Crazy. So as you could see, it definitely looks like Musial rookie card is even undervalued. So let's actually look at the averages. All right, so if you look at the averages, let's start at the bottom row by grade. So the other players in a PSA 2 were 369% higher than Musial. In a PSA 4, the other players were 430% higher. In a PSA 6, 314%, and on average, 350% higher for the other players. And then let's look at the last column there, cost difference. So as you could see, Koufax was 10% lower than Musial. So Musial did edge him out for rookie cards. Obviously, there's 7 years difference in as far as rookie cards go, and pitchers cards in general don't normally sell as good as somebody who's a position player. Clemente is 108% higher. Willie Mays is 709% higher. Hank Aaron 173% higher, and Mantle a whopping 1,122% higher. So, wow, guys, that's some crazy results. Well, guys, how did you guys like looking at those results? Do you guys agree with how I looked at it? Do you guys think I missed something? Should have ran the numbers a different way? or do you think that was a fair snapshot of what is going on with the card prices for Stan Musial? I know a lot of guys that I collect with like Musial, and a lot of them, whenever we bring up how low his cards are, they say, "Shh, be quiet. We don't want other people to know." But it's very interesting. Do you think his card prices will eventually catch up, or do you just think he just wasn't a popular enough player? He played during a time frame that was like in between two different decades, so he's kind of not as popular. So I would love to hear what you have to say. Feel free to comment down below on what your thoughts are, and I just want to hear your opinions on it. I am gonna just This is my fourth Stan Musial card. I cannot wait till it comes in the mail, and I am gonna just keep working on his run. I have an attachment to Musial. I live about 15 minutes from where he grew up. My father-in-law's family was a huge Musial family, so I think it's really cool to collect somebody who's like a hometown hero like that. And he was a great guy all around. I know that. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.